Hello everybody, just sitting here with my good friend Billybobs Clayton, and we're telling some fishing stories, and he come up with this story about him fishing, bass fishing on Mason Lake that you gotta hear this to believe it. I heard some good fishing tales in my life, but here's a good one. So Billy, would you mind telling the folks out there that story you just told me?
Well, I mean, it went like this. I was down Mason Lake, like you said, and I was reading in that Field and Stream magazine where that bass, they like frogs. You can get a nice sized little frog, put it on your pole or on your line, cast it out there, you get a nice bass. So I figured the bestest place to look for a frog would be down by the cattails, because that's where I heard them croaking that day, earlier that morning. So I went down to the cattails and I started looking around, and lo and behold, I looked down, there was a snake. Yep, big old water snake. I don't know if it's poisonous or not, but I wasn't about to find out. But then I looked at that snake, something was funny about it. I looked, and it had a frog in its mouth. And I already been looking for frogs, and I was having a hard time catching one, so I thought, man, I'd like to have that frog, out of that snake's mouth. I figured that snake will bite me. And then I thought, that snake can't bite me with that frog in its mouth. So I snatched that snake up, held it up by the head, and it's got that frog in its mouth. I carried it on up to my tackle box, and without thinking, I just put that frog out of that snake's mouth and put it in my tackle box and closed the lid. Well, now you see my dilemma. I'm standing there, I got that snake, and ain't got the frog in its mouth no more, so that means now he can bite me. So I didn't know what to do, but really fast. I had to think really fast on my feet. So what I did is I got me some of that moonshine. Well, maybe it's not moonshine, whatever my brother gave me. I had that little flask that I carried in my pouch. I took it out of my pocket, and I gave it about a shot, I'd say, of that moonshine. And that snake's eyes rolled back in its head, and it started shaking it a little bit, and its little tail curled up in a knot, and it had this sleepy little grin on its face. So after a bit, and it kind of soothed down, so I put it down in the weeds, and it crawled off. So I thought, well, after I took care of that, I put that frog on my hook, threw it out there, and I was going to catch me a bass. Well, the sun was pretty warm that day, and it was beating down on my face, and I fell asleep. Well, pretty soon, I felt something tugging on my pants leg, and I looked down, it was that snake come back. Yep, it came back, and guess what? It brought me 2 frogs.
So you're trying to get us to believe that when the snake came back, he dropped off 2 frogs for 2 shots of whiskey? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yep, that's all what you believe. It brought me 2 frogs for 2 shots of whiskey.
You never cease to amaze me, Billy.